Hello and welcome to this EXP group training video for CIMA E1 Enterprise Operations. Now we're on chapter 6 and this chapter is all about human capital, all about human resources, employees, motivation and various things like that. Now we're going to start, and I won't go through all of these because you can look at these in your own time, but the various theories on management, we've almost got a timeline of management theories about people. We have the classical approach, human relations, and then the contingency approach. And what this is saying, that the very first theories on management were very much based on this classical approach, and that was saying that man is a machine. So there's no real theories towards motivating people or anything like that. They would very much, a human would do the job of a machine. So this is very much in the early days, and we had management theorists such as Taylor, Fayol and Weber, Max Weber. And these were all in effect saying that people, humans, were machines, and the classical theory is to get them to work as a machine. Now the next theories are very much based on human relations. And these theories stem from the view that man requires more than the pure financial benefits of employment, of a job. So it talks about human relations and it brings in such things as motivation. And there's more of a focus on the needs of the people. And we have theories such as Mayo, Maslow and Hertzberg. And we'll look at a couple of these as we go on through this chapter. Now maybe arguably the more up-to-date set of theories, it's the contingency approach. And these approaches argue that it's not a single best approach. You cannot say the classical approach is the best way, or you cannot say the human relations approach is the best way. Instead, it depends. There's a contingency approach. And it will almost be a combination of the different approaches. Now, theorists that are sort of classified within the contingency element, we have McGregor's Theory X and Theory Y, Blake and Mouton, and John Adair. John Adair's Action-Centered Leadership. Okay, if you move down to page 34, what we're going to have a look at now are a couple of theories on motivation, and theories of motivating individuals or groups. Now, the various motivation theories are split into two main categories. The content theories, and this is referring to what are the things that motivate. And then we have the process theories, which is saying, well, how are people motivated? Now, the first one we're going to have a quick look at is quite a well-known motivation theory, Maslow. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And what this says is that a person is motivated by the lower levels of the hierarchy. So a person's physiological needs are the driving force to start with. And until those physiological needs are met, that will motivate. But once those have been achieved, an individual is motivated by the next level, safety. So, physiological, food, water. Once you've achieved that, you're motivated to obtain safety. Once you've achieved that, you're motivated by the next level up, social. Once you've achieved social, you're motivated by the next level, esteem, and then self-actualization. So the key argument behind Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's the lower levels that motivate. Once those have been achieved, we move on up the chain. The next motivation theory, Hertzberg. Hertzberg's two-factor theory. Hertzberg's two-factor theory is also sometimes known as a dual factor theory, sometimes known as the hygiene motivating theory. And what Hertzberg identified is that there are two factors which are present within a job. two factors which are present within a job. One of those factors, or one of those classifications of factors, is known as a hygiene factor. And these factors are expected to be present. If they are present, then they do not motivate. But if they are not present, they will demotivate. So an example would be basic health and safety provisions within the workplace. When an individual goes to work, they would expect to have a safe working environment. If that is there, it does not motivate, but if it's not there, it would demotivate. And motivating factors are factors which would motivate. Now if we look at both of these and say, okay, what about a person's salary? Well, a salary would be a hygiene factor. An individual would expect to be paid the market rate. If he or she is paid less than the market rate, that would be demotivating. If they are paid the market rate, that is not motivating. If they're paid above the market rate, then that would be a motivating factor. Now obviously, if you're in charge of a department, if you're in charge of people, you should, as a manager, make sure all the hygiene factors are present and as many motivating factors as possible are present. Okay, moving down to the next page, and an additional work by Hertzberg. He identified 3 ways of motivating staff. So Hertzberg said, in order to have motivated staff, you need to have job enlargement, job enrichment, and job rotation. Now, enlargement does not simply mean giving the person more work to do, but instead it means making sure the person can see different parts of the job, exposing them to other parts of their job, their responsibilities, so they can see how it fits into the bigger picture, enlarging the job. Job enrichment is enriching the job, maybe giving people certain freedom as to what work they can do, how they approach certain projects. So in other words, they're enriching the work that they do. And job rotation is sort of rotating the job between different people so people are exposed to other parts of the business. Now obviously you can only do that for individuals that are at the same level within the company. We've then got a theory by McGregor, Douglas McGregor. He identified 2 types of individuals, and there's almost a spectrum here. You have a theory X and a theory Y. If you're a theory X, you dislike work. If you have a characteristics of a theory X person, you do not like work, you dislike work, so your tendency is not to do work. That means that you have to be closely monitored. You have to be given specific tasks to do and watched closely. If you're a theory Y, on the other hand, you enjoy work, you like work, so you can be given more freedom, more choice of how you implement things, more flexibility. Final theory I'm going to look at in this video is Vroom, Victor Vroom's expectancy model. Now, this is another model tied in with motivation. How do we motivate people? And what it is saying is, look, the force of somebody's effort, how much effort somebody puts in, is a formula based on the value, so the valence, the value they place on the outcome, and the expectancy that if they undertake a certain amount of work, they will achieve the desired result. So in other words, how much force do you put in for your CIMA E1 paper? Let's say if you value it really very highly, you value the CIMA qualification, and you do expect that if you put in the necessary work, you're going to become qualified, then a high value multiplied by a high expectancy means that your force of effort is going to be very high. How could we make you even more motivated to become CIMA qualified? Well, if, for example, you were given various study assistance, or you were given time off work to study for the exams, your expectancy should go up. That, in turn, should increase your amount of effort that you put in. Okay, so that's well, I'm going to finish this video. This has been a very quick look through some of the motivation parts of the syllabus. So thank you very much for listening.